What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you get notified of all the latest content as and when it drops on the channel. So in this one, we're just going to be discussing a bit about Tyson the Gypsy King Fury, the topic of many conversations right now. As you will all know, there was a terrible performance by him over the weekend and a way better than expected debut into professional boxing by Francis Ngannou. Ngannou performed exceptionally well. Very good, especially as someone who ain't done this before. And Fury's performance was embarrassing, terrible performance. Many a times in that ring, he looked like he didn't know what he was doing, and this has caused many to just wonder whether or not Tyson Fury's like finished, or whether he's shot, whether he's washed up in the game. And I think, yeah, when you look at his career, he's had some great achievements. I think the 2015 fight in Dusseldorf, as they say, that one night in Dusseldorf against Vladimir Klitschko, where he was able to, in a very dull, sort of boring fight, but he was able to basically outclass Vladimir Klitschko and end his nearly decade-long reign. Klitschko had a stranglehold on heavyweight division for years, and Fury was able to come and derail that. And yeah, a lot of people still reference that because that's a great achievement, but in recent years, it's been the performances against Deontay Wilder, those three performances where people have, that's where his fan base says, right, yeah, this is what makes him the best, etc., etc. He's beat Wilder, and admittedly, you got to take your hat off to him, especially for the first performance, because he was coming off of fighting, guys that were nowhere near sort of world class, or anyone anywhere near sort of winning a world title. These were, guys that were low down, being Pianetta, Tom Schwartz, and guys like that. I mean, the guys he fought in the meaning between time were nothing, compared to a Wilder. So the fact that he was able to come off that layoff, not really fight anyone, then fight and beat, fight Wilder to the draw, and then go on and have success against him twice more. So that, I mean, that's exceptional. That's great achievements. But with Fury lately, there's one thing that I've noticed myself, and I think a lot of other people have, which is that there's a difference when it comes to his legs, to his footwork. The feet, have become a bit heavier, and he's no longer fleet-footed, and I think that could be a sign of maybe decline, or the body's not what it used to be. So as much as his tactic against Deontay Wilder was an exceptional tactic, it turned out to be the perfect tactic to beat Wilder, by pushing him back, using feints, and working, at sort of mid-range, and making Deontay Wilder hesitate to throw his punches, and making it very hard for him to set himself for the right hand. And those tactics were brilliant, but going by the way he's sort of performed since, I mean, the third Wilder fight, great, he got him out of there, but it was an almighty struggle. And for me, he's one thing he might have lost is kind of the footing, the footwork that he used to have. I think with all the weight that he puts on between the camps and stuff, and he jokes about being fat, and he said he done a 12-week camp for Francis Ngannou, and there's others, I think G-Man Boxing, he said it, that and other people too, but they saying that, look, yes, maybe he did do a 12-week camp, but half of that camp, or maybe a quarter of that camp he done, was about losing the weight. So maybe he's not been living a life in between, before this Francis Ngannou fight. Maybe that's why he, one of the reasons why he looked quite bad in this fight. And also, yeah, I think it's one of these things where I would say it is a possibility that maybe he is finished, that maybe he is washed up. And I'd say it's also, you have to factor in that the public and kind of the media and his fan base have given him this mystique, and you know it's everywhere, even on the place he banned, like Talk Sport, places like that, media outlets like those guys, and a lot of outlets and stuff have all sort of lauded Tyson Fury as this great invincible fighter that, and he goes around saying he's the lineal champion, although he retired and came back and has never been undisputed. You know, somehow he's the lineal champion and he's the greatest to ever do it. And a lot of people were buying into and sort of believing this narrative about him. And for me, I believe that you can't really go around calling yourself the greatest and the best of and an all-time great without first proving that you're the best of your era, without at least cleaning up the heavyweight division, as I've said in other videos. I mean, you know, there's another guy there with the belts called Alexander Usyk. You haven't fought him. Um, you know, yes, great wins against Deontay Wilder, but you could pick his resume apart and say, who has he really got as a significant win on his record? I mean, a lot of people say, oh, the Luis Ortiz win, but again, Louis Ortiz hadn't really beaten anybody of note that we could talk about. You know, he doesn't really have a noteworthy win on his resume that we should call him this great boogeyman or whatever. There's nothing much on his resume going into the Wilder fight. I mean, you know, he's gone and lost to Andy Ruiz and stuff like that, but there's nothing there on his resume for us to say, yeah, Ortiz is the man. No, he's not. You know, whereas as much as people want to criticize Anthony Joshua, at least Joshua, he's unified belts, he's beat champions and stuff, and yeah, resume wise, he stacks up. You could argue maybe, well, in spite of his losses, in terms of who he's fought, I mean, outside of um, Wilder and Fury, he's pretty much fought the rest of the big names in the division. So you can't really sniff at his resume. It's kind of better. But yeah, going back to Fury, I think to really tell whether he is shot or whether he is finished, I think I'd like to see him again. And I'd like to see him in the undisputed fight versus Alexander Usyk. And I think, you know, depending on how he performs there, I think that fight versus Usyk is going to be one where we can really tell whether or not he's shot or he's finished or whatnot. Because Usyk is the real deal. Usyk is an exceptional boxer, very tricky, very hard to deal with. He's a southpaw, smaller guy, lots of movement, and it'll be a very, very difficult night's work for Tyson Fury. And going by Fury's last performance, I would say I make Usyk the favorite now, whereas before it might have been Tyson Fury. For me right now, I make Usyk the favorite going into it. And you know, Tyson Fury, he's in a questionable place now because he seemed very dejected, very deflated as after the fight. So when Usyk came in, he wasn't enthusiastic with Usyk. He was just sort of nodding in agreement. But then, you know, I read the article. I think it was came out yesterday, Boxing Scene, where Tyson Fury is actually talking about having a rematch with Francis Ngannou, and I think that sort of talk leads me to believe that, well, maybe he's got one eye on retirement, and I think retirement is a genuine and real possibility for Tyson Fury at this point. I mean, I personally, and I think boxing fans, you know, I'd like to see the undisputed fight. I think the Ngannou performance was terrible. It was a very bad day at the office, and you know, you can put down to maybe he was surprised by how good Francis Ngannou was. I think that's the case of it. But yeah, this is a few of my thoughts on it. I think with Tyson Fury, it's a very real possibility that maybe he is shot, maybe he is finished. But I think I'd like to see him in his next fight, see him in the undisputed fight to really give us the truth on that. You know, see whether he can perform against you know, his equal against Alexander Usyk. See what happens in that fight, and I think that fight will tell us a lot. Definitely his legs have slowed down and stuff, and he did look to be running out of ideas, and he did make some novice type mistakes against Ngannou. So yeah, there's definitely arguments both ways, but let me know what your thoughts are about Tyson Fury. Is he in decline? Is he finished? Is he washed up in your opinion? And until next time, it's MKO Pugilism, over and out.